Welcome back to the Gavel. Now it's less than 3 months to the end of the year, and the presidency has not sent the 2015 budget to the National Assembly for passage. The 2007 Fiscal Responsibility Act states that budget estimates for the next fiscal year should be presented before the joint session of the National Assembly at least 3 months to the end of the year. The executive has also not sent the medium-term expenditure framework (MTEF) and the fiscal strategy policy (FSP) to the National Assembly. This does not bode well for an early passage of the 2015 budget. Well, we spoke to a federal lawmaker, Senator Ajayi Borofis, who shared his thoughts on the matter.
Yeah, I'm worried. Last year, I think the National Assembly did well. We were given a deadline, and I think we concluded the budget before, I think by November or October, before the end of the year, we concluded. But of course, it kept dragging on and on. The Ministry of Finance will have a case, the presidency will have an issue, and we were going forward and backward. It might be worse this year because this is an election year where people are interested in going back to their constituencies to ensure that they are re-elected, either back to the Senate or to the House of Representatives. So I suspect that the attendance is going to be slow, the work is going to slow down, and of course the general election in February. So my fear is that the 2015 budget may just drag on and on and on, and it's not in the interest of Nigerians. By now, we ought to have received the MTEF. We ought to have received the budget proposal, the bill from the presidency for us to start looking at it, which has not happened. I think there should be some one put the right a round peg in a round hole. I think everything depends on leadership. The leadership is such that it seems that it's overwhelmed by the burden of governance to the extent that, to me, the leadership is at fault in ensuring that these things go well. I'm minding my language because I don't want to be very offensive. But if we have good leadership and discipline, all this thing will not, come, because we have the Constitution. The Constitution has stated when the MTEF should be, released and how the procedure should go on. Who has the financing in appropriation? In the National Assembly. But we discovered that the National Assembly doesn't have financing in appropriation. So all these conflicts are there. There must be discipline. We have to go back and look at the Constitution. Maybe you have to go to the Supreme Court to actually interpret what the Constitution says as to who has the financing in appropriation. The problems are many, and I don't think I have a single solution to this issue of indiscipline in the budgeting, in approving the budget, and in the implementation of the budget.
The call for fiscal federalism and devolution of powers is not abating in the country. Here is the Deputy Senate President, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, speaking of the need for a redistribution of powers.
The current constitutional amendment process is viewed and streamlined legislative list, and we found our challenge that there are certain items that are neither in the exclusive list nor in the concurrent list, such as health, as important as it is. The other issue within the confines of federalism is the number of states. First, at the risk of sounding contradictory, let me state unequivocally that I am a staunch disciple of self-determination. I believe that every part of this country has the inalienable right to agitate for state creation, and many, especially the Southeast, are very cogent reason to agitate for it. Having said this, when it comes to how to make this nation prosper, We must have to be frank to ourselves. A number of states we have today are not sustainable. They have put so much pressure on the scarce resources because the states, as we know them, are not platforms for wealth creation, but platforms for wealth sharing. The number of states and local government areas that people can boast of determines the chunk of the national cake they take home at the end of every month. My take is that we should return to the regional arrangement with 6 geopolitical zones as the federating units. These will help us to shrink the size of number of governments and increase the volume of resources available to regions. It will also help the federating units to benefit from the economy of scale, doing bigger development projects as we had in the First Republic. Then there was healthy competition. And for those of us from the eastern part of Nigeria, we remember that at the time, the economy of the eastern Nigeria was adjudged to be the fast growing in the entire world. At the time between 1951 and 1954, when the federalism was dispersed, and up to the 60s, the revenue sharing formula at that time weighed heavily in the area of derivation. Derivation was the major component of the revenue sharing at the time. So, in fact, up to 1958, it was about 100%. It was then thereafter between 1968 and 1966, before the army took over, it was of course 50%. In the 1960 Constitution and 1963 Constitution, derivation as a means of sharing revenue was 50% right there in the Constitution. And so, prior to the emergence of oil, or the oil wealth, up to 1958, the Eastern Nigeria was heavily challenged in terms of resources. But yet they tried. What did they do? Dr. Imoke was then the Minister for Finance for Eastern Nigeria. He came up with the idea of the pay as you earn. That was the first time the pay as you earn was used as a way of raising income for the component part of the country. And it paid heavily. They were taxing cinemas, they were taxing alcohol, they were taxing bicycles. And then they were also taxing individuals based on their earnings. And they paid money to build most of the infrastructures we have today. And then, of course, the Western region was also heavily endowed with the resources such as coke and all that. They also made tremendous improvements. The North also became quite inquisitive and came up with ideas on how to raise their own revenue. So there was heavy competition. But since all you came, what we do is we come to Abuja, collect money every month, we go home and sleep, squander what we have, come back the next month to get what we believe is available.
Now, this is where we draw the curtains for this week's edition of The Gavel. If you have any views or opinions on any of the issues discussed, please email us on thegavel@channelstv.com. Thank you for staying with us and see you again next week.